Greetings. Shalom. This is a huge thing, but it's also one and perfect and simple when understanding is given from above. It's not confusion. It's not complicated like the wicked lie and lies through people's unknowing or lack of understanding and blindness. People take advantage of this. Leaders of the world and peoples take advantage of sin and blinding of the masses, and they stupidity and wickedness and something that's literally foolish is wisdom to them. So they create wisdom by their foolishness, which can't be understood because it's a bunch of contradictions and lies. It's nonsense, which creates an image of wisdom to people and makes them be in wonder and awe. And there's nothing. It's just a thin cover hiding all that shame and sin and nakedness of that unbelieving wicked leader, whoever they are, that doesn't believe. Religious leaders, other leaders, gurus, kings of the earth, leaders of the earth, our nations, all the same, all wicked. All the heart is evil, all of its lawlessness. It has zero wisdom, it has zero light, it's in perfect darkness, and has zero knowledge for all things concerning truth from the Father above and concerning His Word and what it means. It has nothing. It's an empty vessel being filled up with the wrath of the devil for unbelief. And so then man is already in condemnation. No one has to do anything for that to be true. Those that don't believe, we read, are already condemned. The Father doesn't even have to do anything further. They're already condemned and in death. The Old Covenant is all people. It represents all people, not just the Israelites of old. The Old Covenant is man's self-righteousness. Now, what law someone uses doesn't change anything for the heart. What law, whether it's the Creator's laws or made-up laws of their own, some nation, Gentiles making up laws, mixing, matching like people do, just like with the Creator's name and Messiah's name, is just that creating their own wicked self-righteousness and creating their own root words, mixing with other root words and mixing and matching and mixing in between Hebrew and Aramaic or whatever, all the different combinations to create their own self-righteousness so that it can be their own glory, so that they can have their own prideful, lifted up heart rejoice in itself and have people glory in its own working and works of self-righteousness. In order for that to be so and to be someone's own thing, you have to create it yourself through self-righteousness, Old Covenant, through the covenant of death, as it were, as it works in people, a death, because the wages of sin is death, and the requirement for the law, the righteous requirement, requires death to pay that penalty, as Messiah did, in order to have life. But it means so much more than one thing, because His Word is tall, wide, deep, and has so much meaning to any given thing. Even an unbeliever outside of religion is under the Old Covenant because their heart is working self-righteousness. Their cover looks a little different than a religious cover. That's it. It's the picture, someone, a good picture to think of is putting on clothes. It's the perfect picture because that's what we read in Genesis, is man's own covering is his own righteousness, his own working, his own works, his own understanding, his own everything. It's the opposite of denial of self. It's all pride and nothing to do with humble. Anyone that's self-righteous has no humble, never has been, doesn't know what it means, and has never been humble a single day in their life at any time, at any second of the day, ever. It's not possible to have true humble while being in unbelief through pride and self-righteousness. Self-righteousness is the opposite of being humble. Messiah had no self-righteousness. He denied himself and his own righteousness, which is a breaking down, which is humble, which is the dust going back to down where it came from, the earth, humble. Anything above that is a delusion. It's coming down. It's not going to stay up in the sky through a delusion. It's just an image in the sky. It's not real. Pride isn't real. It's a delusion. It gets punished. It's death. Therefore, it's not real. It's just someone in their mind thinks it's real. And the wages of pride is death, and the Father is far from the prideful. Anyone that has the true pride in the heart continually, they don't know the Father, and they have never been humble a day in their life. The only thing the natural carnal man can do is to try to think of what humble means in his mind and try to copy what the Father makes believers actually become in their heart for every law and detail. The devil masquerades it, creates the false image of the true, and can never do the true in the heart. Never does it in the heart at any time, but is only a rip-off and a copy of the true that the Father actually does in those that believe in him, where there is no trying, because he changes the heart, and the heart actually works a righteous work that is of the Father's works, and then therefore it's righteous because it's not our own works. And when that's done, it's not self-trying. It's him working through his people to do his will, to work in someone to do his good pleasure, like we read. It will look like to the blind that it's man's own working, but the blind cannot see the Father's works at all, working in some. It doesn't believe that at all. If it sees good works, it rages, because it cannot believe it at all. If it sees the light, it rages. Cannot believe it at all, doesn't want to. It's under the old covenant of condemnation and death, the ministry of death. Don't we read it? Yes, we do read it. I might as well read it right now. Where is it? Corinthians? Scroll down. 2 Corinthians 3:7. But if the ministry of death, written and engraved on stones, was glorious, so that the children of Israel could not look steadily at the face of Moses because of the glory of his countenance, this outward glory is what man desperately wants through self-righteousness, which is the old covenant is keep all the Father's laws, but it's through man's understanding, trying, and working. Can't be done. The new covenant is keep all those same laws that the old man never knew what meant for the heart. The same command, the same words, the same letters. He writes in the heart now, and the Father shows us what it means and gives us power to actually do what it always meant, that the natural man never knew at any time what it meant. Never knew what the letters meant. At best, it was carved on stone, which is an outward appearance of the letter of the law, which kills. That's the best it can do, is kill. The best it can do is condemnation and death, a spiritual death that waxes worse and worse until someone is utterly destroyed at their end. But the true light is within, the Father gives, and it's not for an outward show or appearance, but it's actual light. It's actually the Father's works. Doing good works is his light. Keeping his law, his works, is his light, because the law is the lamp to someone's feet. Just not the way Moses and anyone under the old covenant to this day in religion understands it. just not the way that all mankind that ever lived understands it, but only exactly what the Father teaches it is for those that believe. Because the natural man does not receive the things of the Spirit of the Father. Never. The best it can be is death. Now, we also read elsewhere that the old covenant was lacking. We read it plainly. What was it lacking? Is it something the Creator is lacking himself, who he is? No. What was the lacking? I might go to that scripture too and read it after this. So that the children of Israel could not look steady because of the glory of the countenance, which glory was passing away. How will the ministry of the Spirit not be more glorious? When you contrast, you have to contrast. The old was never actually true glory. It was a type of glory. That's how these words are being used here. It's called glory as long as someone's understanding it was a type of the true glory, which means it wasn't real. It wasn't the real glory. Read that right in Corinthians also. How will the ministry of the Spirit not be more glorious? For if the ministry of condemnation, that means someone's heart is constantly condemning and doing wickedness. Someone, a carnal Jew, Christianity, all of anything that's under the old covenant. It doesn't matter what they say, it's what their heart is doing. It's all under the old covenant for those that don't believe in the true Creator and Messiah and deny themselves to do his will daily. Pick up their stake and die daily and follow Messiah daily. Anyone not doing that is under the condemnation of the old covenant through understanding what it means, which is man's own self-righteousness, which is the same for all people. What law and what image you use to work that self-righteousness looks different on the outside, it doesn't matter. It's the same in the inside. A carnal Hebrew Israelite that's filled up with self-righteousness is doing the same wicked works in the heart that a Gentile unbeliever out there, apart from the Father's word, doesn't claim to believe anything, is the exact same working and spiritual works in the heart. It's no different. It's for all people. It's condemnation. It condemns others. That's all it can do. If the ministry of condemnation had glory, the ministry of righteousness exceeds much more in glory. It's making a contrast. For even what was made glorious had no glory in this respect. Oh no, the apostle's wicked. He's contradicting himself. Does someone in religion want 5,000 verses that contradict with the letter all day long? Do they really want it? I don't think they want it. No, they don't want it. They think they found one contradiction, someone that goes against the apostles' writings or the New Testament. These people are utterly destroyed. Anti-Messiah, anti-Paul, anti-this, anti-that. They're utterly destroyed. They can't see that every page, almost every page of his word could be found with contradictions according to the letter, which is the only understanding of man for contradictions. So blind. It doesn't matter that the letters contradict. The letter kills. It doesn't do any good anyways by itself. So what's it matter that the letter contradicts when that's not the meaning? The understanding has to be given. His word literally contradicts with the letters all day long. Has to be said. They say it doesn't. And they're blind. And it's a lying witness and it's foolishness to the rest of the world what Christianity does. Because they lie about something massively easy to see and simple, that it does contradict with the letters constantly. And then they say it doesn't. They say there's no contradictions, because when Christianity says there's no contradictions, they're not talking about the Spirit or spiritual anything receiving from above. They're speaking according to their own understanding of what contradiction means, which is just what it looks and sounds like, which is the letter alone. For even what was made glorious had no glory in this respect, because of the glory that excels. For if what is passing away was glorious, what remains is much more glorious. Therefore, since we have such hope, we use great boldness of speech. Unlike Moses, unlike the carnal man that Moses represents. To this day, carnal prophets and the carnal man have nothing. They're empty stage-acting deceivers that are destroying others for self-gain and for their own seeking of their own glory and self-gain. That's it. That's who they are. Who put a veil over his face so that the children of Israel could not look steadily at the end of what was passing away. It was passing away a few thousand years ago, because the understanding of passing away is not, once again, our own understanding before it's given what this means. It has to be sought after for what passing away means and how it's working and what it's meaning for life. And it's always more than one carnal thing, to be one literal thing, because his word has so much depth. It's so big. He keeps adding. It's nothing like the way the natural man thinks it works, his word, at all. It was passing away from the beginning because it's death. Someone that's dying every day, literally, as everyone is, because you get closer to the day of death. As soon as you're born, you're dying. It's passing away. The world is passing away constantly until the form of this world and the sin and the wickedness of it does finally pass away, but it's always passing away because there is a spiritual meaning, and then there is a natural meaning, and then there's a divider between within someone's life and the end of the age. All these things have to be given to see what its meaning, discerned. Every word needing discerned and understood individually for what it means. What's passing away? Man is passing away. In unbelief, he's rotting, he's being destroyed, he's passing away. We could add some scriptures to this understanding that we can read of, even somewhere in James or somewhere in the New Testament, something about the rich, those that love money in the heart. They're passing away. They're rotting away in the old man because they're in the way of death, which is connected to the old covenant, which is man's own righteousness. It doesn't have to claim the Father's law through his word to be under what that is, what the old covenant is. It could use whatever mixed up, matched law that someone creates. The working in the heart is the same. There would be a difference, someone could say, between, using his law and his word, the law, Torah, or Torah, as that the carnal things are the only things that matter to the natural man. You can make a distinguishing difference between two carnal things, but that's not the heart. That's not the heavenly meaning. It's a lowly earthly thing. And there is difference. There's different images. There's different appearances. There's different clothes. Look at all the different clothes and possibilities. Change one detail on a shirt, and you have, millions of possibilities? Because if you just change one speck, and it's identical except one speck, it's different. It's not identical, it's different. That speck is different. So you could have all kinds of different clothes and colors and images for an outward appearance. So self-righteousness is Adam's and Eve's own covering. It's their own covering for their wickedness, their sin, their nakedness, and the shame of it. It covers its own sin and covers others' people's sins through wickedness. Covering sin is saying, nope, you're good, you didn't do anything, you're fine. When there was actual sin, that's what people do. That's what they'll do every time. They cover someone else's sin and says, no, you're good. When it does that with an evil heart, then that's wicked. It just covered its own sins and which thinks it's a God in its own mind to do this, because only the Creator can actually cover sins and forgive sins, which is his covering, which is a real covering, which actually forgives and covers sins, and forgiveness happens in spirit, and the conscience, the mind, the heart, spirit of man is cleansed. But before Messiah, there was no forgiveness for sins, and yet there was forgiveness of sins. Same words, but one is a type and one is the true. now rightly dividing between the types and the natural versus the spiritual and true, heavenly copies, made heavenly copies on earth, carnal, earthly things that were not the heavenly at any time until Messiah, until the new covenant. It never cleansed, and we read in Hebrews plainly, simply, it never cleansed their conscience. It never took away sins in reality. That means that it weighed them down. That means they were in darkness and death within their soul, their life, their heart. Their spirit was in prison, destroyed, in death, darkness. You could do all the carnal commanding and law-keeping carnally through the natural, through Moses, all day long, and still in death. It's a ministry of condemnation and death. Therefore, there's the first, the natural, and then the spiritual, the type, then the reality. You say the same words, but one is the type and not real, and one is the true, the real. So then anybody of the Old Covenant, they are called saints, but they are Old Covenant saints, and they are a type of the true, the thing that the Father actually loves, that had actually always meant, that nobody knew. It wasn't revealed. It was hidden from all time, ages past, until the revealing in Messiah. For those that believe, it's still hidden to those that don't believe. But it was not given to anyone, even the Old Covenant saints before. That's why we read they looked forward to see the things and they never saw them. They never received the promise of the Spirit of the new covenant, which is the Father's Spirit of the Father in Messiah in us with power, receiving the Spirit. But just the type of it. It's just the natural man thinking of what the Spirit is and Holy Spirit is. It's his delusional understanding of it and not reality, but just as a type. He needs to make an outward show and appearance for everything that we read. He needs to make an outward appearance of prayer, of singing and dancing and playing music and showing its righteousness to others outwardly, because that's, in its mind, is proof that it's righteous. It's their covering. That's how they hide that they're wicked sinners that don't have anything, that are violently evil hearts within, hiding that beast with that little cover. And when the cover slips, you see the beast come out. You see the beast come out. Because that beast is everyone. It's hiding under that thin cover. Now some people that literally go and kill people, they lost their image. They lost it, and the beast came out, but everyone is the same. Their heart is wicked. But man's covering thinks that its covers all that sin and beast heart that constantly sins with its heart in lawlessness, because no one of the enemy in unbelief can fake anything that's real. They cannot ever know what good is and what humble is. They cannot ever actually perform what freely giving is at any time. And when you tell them, if they were to hear that, they will try to. Why? With a wicked heart and wicked prideful intention to prove you wrong and them right. They're already falling. They're already sinning. And then they only do something to try to prove you wrong. That's why they did it. That's what someone will do. That's all they can do in unbelief. That's all the natural man can do if he were to hear the truth. He tried to prove you wrong. So therefore, the only intention in the heart for doing that so-called good and giving was just to look good and prove you wrong, and itself through pride right, which was a wicked work in the heart. And it cannot understand it. Cannot understand anything. It's a stubborn board, and it's harder than a stone and rock. It's like a gargoyle frozen. It just needs to be broken. That's all that's left. And Messiah will dash everyone to pieces. He's dashing his people now to pieces. And those that overcome, they will also dash the nations to pieces with Messiah in the ages to come. Those reigning now, they're from above with him now. They are reigning as kings already, those that believe. Natural man doesn't know what this means. It's an abomination to him. The only reigning is an outward appearance in all carnality. being some leader and leading people to war to go and kill and slaughter people, literally. Leading people in some carnal kingdom is their understanding of reigning. It's an abomination to them what king actually means for us right now. As Messiah lived, he didn't come to be served at any time in his ministry. He served. And if the king and master didn't come to be served, then how much more true is that at the very least for all those under him? No one is greater than their master, we read. Therefore, if the highest he went was below everyone, then that's what every servant that believes in Messiah will be. The highest they go is below everyone, which is an abomination to all mankind's heart apart from him, all of it. A king in this world is a lying hypocrite and stage actor. It only is a king to be served by others and pretends to serve others. It never can do that in its heart, but only create a damnable, beastly, satanic image of its own father, the devil, and selling that it serves people. But it only works to be served by others. That's it. It never has served anyone a day in its life, ever, no matter how much it looks like it, because all of that is just stage acting and not real. It's what a hypocrite is. It's a stage actor in the definition of the word in Scripture. And anyone that's acting is already a hypocrite, because acting is delusion. It's deception. It isn't real. It's already a massive lying image. That's what pays the most, doesn't it? Whoever's a better actor, a better hypocrite, a better liar, a better deceiver, that's what pays the most. No one can believe what sin is apart from the Creator. Their mind is already darkened and already perfectly backwards apart from the Creator, and already believes that actual literal sin that he teaches us, his people, for what it is. They actually believe real sin is good, and real good is wicked and sin already. In its heart, it's already wicked and of the devil. It's already over. Every work in the heart it does and thinks is good is evil. That doesn't know the Father. It's that backwards already in all things. If that wasn't so, then how could Messiah say in truth to those that supposedly kept the law and sat in Moses' seat, even proclaiming the law in their steaming pride and self-righteousness? You speak of Moses and the law, yet none of you. You teach the law, and yet none of you keeps the law. None. They can look up that word and see that it means none. It means zero. None of them kept the law. How many were there? Thousands of leaders? 1 million Jews in Jerusalem? None of them kept the law. None. That's what Messiah means. It's not a liar. None of them kept the law. None. And that's all they proclaimed and showed. That means their heart never kept a good work. Never kept a single law in a day in its life. None. Pretty offensive, isn't it? And what if that's the only truth there is? It is the only truth there is for those that don't believe. It is the truth. Saying anything else would be murdering your neighbor and lying to someone so that you get praise and fame, and worshiping someone's image so that you don't go under any persecution, tribulation, or any difficulty in this world, thinking someone can escape the judgment, and they don't ever escape. Death is the penalty for doing the easy, wide gateway. They never escape what they think is hard and can't be done and is an abomination. It comes on them anyways. Father's judgment comes on someone anyways. So Adam and Eve are afraid to do good because in their mind they say, well, this is going to happen to me. This bad things are going to happen to me if I speak the truth. And the judgment and curses come on them anyways. It's stupid. It's a delusion. But every believer has to learn and grow and see these things to know it's a delusion, that it's foolish, it's deception. To say, to not want to do the hard thing, the good thing, the difficult thing, The hard thing is coming anyways for not doing what's right, and there will be no true blessing. No true blessing for doing sin. Be no blessing. Those that don't have his Spirit are not his, as we read. Those that are not of Messiah, that don't have the Spirit, are not Messiahs, like we read. I forgot what it was I wanted to maybe find for a verse earlier. Something about the veil, was it? I happened to be on John 7 right here. And the Jews marveled, saying, "How does this man know letters, having never studied?" See, when they're saying never studied, they did not perceive or see that he joined their Bible studies, their religious doctrinal teachings and scholarly school garbage for 8 years, 10 years, 4 years, because that's what the carnal man does. And he thinks all of this is good and righteous. It's incredibly blind. But the Father teaches Messiah, and nobody can see that. It looks like nothing to someone. No working of self. The Father just gives the understanding. Boom. For asking and denying self and believing he can give. It just comes. For doing nothing. How offensive is that to the natural man? For doing nothing of self. No working of self. Does he give through maybe reading something or checking something? Yeah, that's not the point. The point is, in contrast to the natural man's working of I study myself and try to understand myself. You do none of that, and he gives actual understanding. And you do all of self-works and self-understanding and get nothing in reality. Instead, you get death and literal delusion and no understanding for trying. And the more someone tries and is self-righteous through self-understanding, the more delusional they are and the more death and deception they're in. It increases. The more someone denies themselves and gives up their own ability in their heart, can't be faked, and acknowledges that we cannot understand anything or do anything or perform it and keep his law, the more he will give his people actual understanding for doing what someone would be afraid of and say, no, that can't be. If I don't do anything, if I don't have work, it won't be good. I'll be lost. And they end up being lost anyways. For doing what someone would think is the impossible and doesn't sound or look good, the Father actually gives the good thing and blessing. For denying self and saying, I don't know what this means. I can't do this. I can't do that. I can't keep this. And then you ask to be able to, through denial of self, through speaking the actual truth in the heart, which is zero ability to understand his word or keep it. That's true for everyone, including Messiah. It's why he denied himself and was taught by his Creator, his Father, as every believer needs to be right now, and always has been true for true believers in Messiah. Following after Messiah's footsteps is being taught by the Creator, just as Messiah was taught. Raised up by the Creator and given until he was perfected, and then took on the sins of the world and his ministry for 3.5 years. And then they killed him because he exposed all the stage actors that always were. Because the time came now that no more fake garbage, no more faking an images only. It's time for the real repentance. He's commanding everyone everywhere to repent for real now. Unlike times past, no one actually was able to. Nobody had the Father's righteousness actually working in them. Only types of the true. The bread from heaven was only a type of the true, but it is a teaching for us today. It's not for their admonition, it's for our admonition. It wasn't for those eating the bread from heaven, the manna. It wasn't for their admonition, his very own word. It's for our admonition, for those under Messiah, under the new covenant. Everything is backwards about everything that man does in the heart. It wasn't even for their admonition. It's just man thinks so. Not even for their admonition, for ours. That's why we read that. What do the people in religion think that means? Maybe I'll find that right now. Admonition. Okay, that must not be the right word, or I'm not spelling it right or something. I might not be able to find it real quick here. I don't know. I would like to, but... Whatever they tell you to observe, Messiah speaking, that observe. But Messiah is speaking of the truth, not the letter of the law and what something looks and sounds like, but what they say when it's out of his word, when they're quoting with his word, when they're quoting his laws. Observe and do, but do not do according to their works, for they say and do not do. How many of them? All of them. All of them. There was nobody else that believed except Messiah. He was the only son in the whole entire world, the only true light in the world at the time, the only begotten Son, of which there would be many sons afterwards. So it wasn't only forever. That's the understanding. But he was the only begotten Son at the time. Now there were those being led up to believe, but they didn't believe yet, according to what believe means. So then the process is the same for a true believer. Everyone is led up to believe before they actually believe. And there's a difference. It's to be seen in spirit. As someone can't even comprehend what true belief is that has never believed in religion. They can't comprehend it. They don't know what it is, so they have to fake it. They have to do what they think it looks like on the outside. I don't know if I'll find right now their admonition. Maybe I'll do a search real quick on Google. First Corinthians 10:11, that might be one of them. 1 Corinthians 10:11. Now all these things happened to them as examples, and they were written for our admonition, upon whom the ends of the ages have come. Therefore let him who thinks he stands take heed lest he fall. No temptation has overtaken you except such as is common to man. No one's unique. No one saying and pitting themselves something is happening to them that isn't common to man and happening to all. But Elohim is faithful, who will not allow you to be tempted beyond what you are able, but with the temptation will make the way of escape that you may be able to bear it. Not to turn away from it and run away, but to bear it and go through it and overcome it. Flee from idolatry, speak as to wise men. I speak as to wise men. Judge for yourselves what I say. Now I know that was part of it. I know elsewhere, somewhere we read specifically that wasn't even for them, and there's more than one verse. There's multiple witnesses to that teaching about it being hidden. I might be able to find some of them by putting in hidden. A veil over the face is covering. It's not seen. There's a veil over all nations, like we read, and someday it's going to be lifted for all people. Like we read somewhere in Isaiah, I believe, and if not Isaiah, somewhere in Scripture we read about the veil over all nations that will be lifted off of all. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hidden. A light is for shining in darkness to be seen. Doesn't that sound contradicting of Messiah's own teaching of not to be seen by men? Not to have that intention in the heart. Not to be working and doing something for the intention of being seen as good. So someone can keep this in Messiah, doing this good work of not doing something to be seen outside as good by people, while still shining the light. Yes, it can be kept. It sounds contradicting. Sounds impossible. With man, it is impossible. It's not impossible with the Creator. There's nothing covered that will not be revealed, and hidden that will not be known. Nothing. Whatever someone thinks they're hiding, they're not hiding it. Messiah even thanks the Father for this truth. And that time Yehoshua answered and said, I thank you, Father, Master of heaven and earth, that you have hidden these things from the wise and prudent, and have revealed them to babes. Now they don't like this. Stay away from this. Stay away from all of Messiah's commands and words. Thanking the Father that it's hidden from the wise and prideful, so-called. Even so, Father, for so it seemed good in your sight. All things have been delivered to me by my Father, and no one knows the Son except the Father. No one knows the Son except the Father, nor does anyone know the Father except the Son, and the one to whom the Son wills to reveal him. And that's the connection for all believers. No one knows the Son except the Father. No one except the Father. Nor does anyone know the Father except the Son, and the one to whom the Son wills to reveal him. Come to me, all you who labor and are heavy laden, I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Find rest for someone's very life. The kingdom of heaven is like treasure hidden in a field, which a man found and hid, and for joy over it he goes and sells all that he has and buys that field. For there is nothing hidden. Okay, I read that. He entered a house and wanted no one to know it, but he could not be hidden. For nothing is secret that will not be revealed, nor anything hidden that will not be known and come to light. When the woman saw that she was not hidden, she came trembling and falling down before him. She declared to him in the presence of all the people the reason she had touched him and how she was healed immediately. What is that teaching? Belief. The touching is belief, simple belief. To touch, to be connected to the Creator, to believe, to have His Spirit, and be one with the Father and Messiah. They did not understand this saying, and it was hidden from them so that they did not perceive it, and they were afraid to ask him about this saying. Once again in Luke, In that hour Yehoshua rejoiced in the Spirit and said, I thank you, Father, Master of heaven and earth, that you have hidden these things from the wise and prudent and revealed them to babes. Even so, Father, so it seemed good in your sight. And then we read some of the same things here in Luke. But they understood none of these things. This saying was hidden from them, and they did not know the things which were spoken. Did they think they did? Do people say they understand? Absolutely. What's the Father's word speaking of? People's actual heart and reality. They don't know. They don't understand. They would start understanding if they acknowledged that they don't and deny themselves. What do we read here? But we speak the wisdom of Elohim in a mystery, the hidden wisdom which Elohim ordained before the ages for our glory, which none of the rulers of this age knew. For had they known, they would have not crucified the Master of glory. Pretty big deal, pretty important thing here. Not even the devils, Pharisees, and the religion that killed Messiah. The religion that killed him. The self-righteous, old covenant, self-righteous that killed him. If they knew what it would do to kill Messiah, they wouldn't even have killed him. That's exactly what we're reading here. The devil and devils would not have killed Messiah if they knew the power of the resurrection and what it would do for people receiving, believers receiving his Spirit with power. They would not have killed him, they could sell and say, we're good people, we didn't kill you. But why would someone not want to kill Messiah if they knew this? For wicked intentions. But they're blind, they didn't even know. They could not see at all. That's why they killed him. We speak wisdom among those who are mature, yet not the wisdom of this age, nor of the rulers of this age, who are coming to nothing. But we speak the wisdom of Elohim in a mystery. Wisdom, the hidden wisdom which Elohim ordained before the ages for our glory, which none of the rulers of this age knew. For had they known, they would not have crucified the Master of glory. But as it is written, eye has not seen, nor ear heard, nor have entered into the heart of man the things which Elohim has prepared for those who love him. When? Now. Already. Things given that no one has heard or seen before, ever. But believers are receiving these things that believe. But Elohim has revealed them to us through his Spirit, for the Spirit searches all things, yes, the deep things of Elohim. For what man knows the things of a man except the spirit of the man which is in him? Even so, no one knows the things of Elohim except the Spirit of Elohim. Now we have received not the spirit of the world, but the Spirit who is from Elohim, that we might know the things that have been freely given to us, freely given by Elohim. These things we also speak not in words which man's wisdom teaches, but which the Holy Spirit, set apart Spirit, teaches, comparing spiritual things with spiritual. But the natural man does not receive the things of the Spirit of Elohim, for they are foolishness to him, nor can he know them, because they are spiritually discerned. They are discerned spiritually, that they cannot see and know. The natural man just cannot receive. It's true for everyone. It's true for every true believer. It was true before his people believed, that the natural man never receives anything. But he who is spiritual judges all things, yet he himself is judged by no one. For who has known the mind of Jehovah that he may instruct him, but we have the mind of Messiah. That's a quote from Isaiah 40:13. Who has known the mind of Jehovah? Therefore, since we have this ministry, as we have received mercy, we do not lose heart, but we have renounced the hidden things of shame, not walking in craftiness, nor handling the word of Elohim deceitfully, but by manifestation of the truth, commending ourselves to every man's conscience in the sight of Elohim. But even if our gospel is veiled, it is veiled to those who are perishing. Perishing is to be dying, being destroyed, perishing, fading away, like the old covenant is always fading away and it's always perishing and fading away. But that it was doing that long ago with the Israelites under the old covenant. We just read it earlier. That was passing away. The end of it was passing away. It has passed away. It is passing away. It was passing away. It will pass away. All of that's true. If someone can't see how, they have to seek the understanding from the Creator and not man. Man won't do it. Man can't teach the heart. Messiah teaches the heart. The Father teaches the heart. Even if our gospel, the good news, is veiled, what's covered, it can't be seen unless it's given. Christianity teaches the gospel of condemnation and death and the torturing of most people forever. It is veiled. Believe in the power of His word. But even if our gospel is veiled, it is veiled to those who are perishing. Christianity is perishing. It has no life because it doesn't believe. It's in the condemnation and condemning others. The harlot double condemns. The harlot sits on many waters in pride, riding the beast. One with the world in the heart, in spirit, in the same wickedness and sin. Because Jerusalem is spiritually Sodom and Egypt, like we read. We don't read carnally for a good reason, but spiritually, Jerusalem is Sodom and Egypt. Whose minds the Elohim of this age has blinded, who do not believe. There's the connection. If someone doesn't have the gospel in their heart and don't teach the true gospel, don't believe it, it's veiled to them. Why is it veiled? Because who don't believe. Whose minds the Elohim of this age has blinded, who do not believe, lest the light of the gospel of the glory of Messiah, who is the image of Elohim, should shine on them. For we do not preach ourselves, but Messiah, Yehoshua the Master, and ourselves your bondservants for Yehoshua's sake. For it is the Elohim who commanded light to shine out of darkness, who has shown in our hearts to give the light of the knowledge of the glory of Elohim in the face of Yehoshua Messiah. We have this treasure in earthen vessels, that the excellence of the power may be of Elohim and not of us. Hard pressed on every side, yet not crushed. We are perplexed, but not in despair, persecuted, not forsaken, struck down, but not destroyed, always carrying about in the body the dying of the Master Yehoshua, that the life of Yehoshua also may be manifested in our body. For we who live are always being delivered to death for Yehoshua's sake, that the life of Yehoshua also may be manifested in our mortal flesh. So then death is working in us, but life in you. And since we have the same spirit of faith according to what is written, I believed and therefore I spoke, Psalm 116:10. We also believed and therefore speak. That's why a believer speaks, because it's given, because of belief. It's out of an actual righteous good cause, and not speaking the delusion for some kind of hidden wicked intention in the heart. I believed and therefore I spoke, we read in Psalm. And we also believe and therefore speak, knowing that he who raised up the Master Yahushua will also raise us up with him and will present us with you. For all things are for your sakes, that grace having spread through the many may cause thanksgiving to abound to the glory of Elohim. Therefore we do not lose heart, even though our outward man is perishing, yet the inward man is being renewed day by day. Spiritual words. It is true that the outward man and the literal man is perishing in everyone, because the moment someone's born, they're dying. But that's not what the apostle is meaning, the carnal understanding here only. The outward man is perishing. That carnal man, it needs to be dying. It's a spiritual understanding. The wickedness of who Adam is perishing in Messiah, dying. But this is not so spiritually for those that don't believe. The only thing that's so in an unbeliever is that just their literal body, they're just literally perishing and not dying in Messiah to the old man. And therefore the unbeliever does not have the inward man being renewed day by day, because the outward man isn't perishing, but it's holding on to its life, saving it, therefore destroying it. Those who save their soul will be destroying, losing their life. Those who destroy, let down, lose their life, their soul shall be finding life, shall be saving it alive. For our light affliction, which is for but a moment, is working for us a far more exceeding and age-abiding weight of glory, while we do not look at the things which are seen, but at the things which are not seen. What's he saying here? This is faith. Not seeing something, but still believing in the Creator that he will work something out that we don't see in our mind, or don't see a way and then ask for a way, so that there's a way made, but we don't see it until it's given. And he makes a way for all kinds of things in life now and to come, but it's applying now as the important thing. Things that are not seen, yet believing anyways. For the things which are seen are temporary. Things which are not seen are, we have the word eternal here. No beginning and no end. It's a contradiction to literally use that word. It's the Greek word. It's out of aeon, which is an age, but it's the adjective aeonios, or however it's pronounced, the adjective of aeon, which is always connected to time and ages, and that word can be used to contrast something. But at every point, the church world won't believe so. Just say, nope, 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 can't do that. A word that can mean long periods of time can be used to contrast something. It can be used like that without meaning literal eternal. And there's more examples of it, but so it is. Ever eternal punishment is what the church world teaches because of one word, but it's not because of one word. It's because their heart is darkened and their minds are darkened, and that they want to believe in condemnation, which is what hell is, the Christianity hell. Not the truth. Christians' hell is condemnation, is wicked. It is a sentence of death and condemnation. It is the intention of condemnation. Otherwise, you would never do that to someone. Once the work is done, the intention was condemnation. If someone throws someone in a literal fire right now and would like them to burn forever, that their heart's intention was to condemn and destroy someone. They can never say it wasn't, because you already did the work. So after everyone is going to hell, most of creation, all of Christianity, it's already proven now, had the intention, the working of the heart is condemnation towards anyone that isn't part of their delusion and their little division. That would be their enemy, because it's in desperate straits. It's empty and void inside, therefore it needs to compare and be envious and better than everyone through pride, because it knows nothing, sees nothing, hears nothing. So it's very offended at everything in its heart secretly, and needs to find something about itself that's better than all other people and condemn them to everlasting, literal fire punishment with no literal end, which is the most severe condemnation that someone can do. There's nothing stronger than literal, non-ending torture forever. That is the strongest form of condemnation that exists, because it's forever. And it's incredibly painful. Is that an understatement? Burning in literal fire forever. There is no greater condemnation in the heart than Christianity's heart and doctrine that they believe and proudly believe and teach. And if the truth was given to them, they would violently get angry and defend the lie of their doctrine. So it doesn't matter how often it's preached or what it looks like. Well, my preacher man doesn't say that, or hasn't said that in a while. What on earth does that matter? It believes that. It doesn't have to speak hell constantly to believe it. And if the truth was given to that minister that maybe doesn't preach hell literally often, they would violently protect hell and condemn the truth as being the wicked lie, the true gospel. It would violently do that. What does it matter? So if someone doesn't say something for a few days, that's their understanding and definition of whether someone has this doctrine? Well, then what does it believe then, if the minister hasn't said something for a few days or months or years? What is its belief concerning the judgment? It's hell. It's not the salvation of all through what the Father did through Messiah, that everyone will die and have died, because it's prophecy that will come true. It's already finished, and now it needs to be worked out in time. That all will have died. That's why the second death guarantees, promises that all will have died in Messiah. That old man has to be exposed, and it's going to die. So then it's just a worthless, vain life, literally all of it, every second, to be an unbeliever, because it all is coming down, all of it. Everything someone built is just so it can fall, and they'll be exposed for hiding all their life. They'll be exposed anyways, completely and fully, and their house is coming down, and they're being exposed, and they have to die to the old man still that they ran away from. Isn't that something? How foolish will the end of that way be in completion? Utter vanity, utter worthlessness. It's like living a whole life of worthlessness. Completely vain glory. Incredible. Now, who on earth wants that? Whatever believers are being built up and building the house, it's going to stand. It's building things. He's building things in us that stand, that will never be destroyed. It'll be continuing to come also. Here it is. That I should preach among the Gentiles the unsearchable riches of Messiah, and to make all see what is the fellowship, to make all see what is the fellowship of the mystery which from the beginning of the ages has been hidden in Elohim, who created all things through Yehoshua Messiah, to the intent that now the manifold wisdom of Elohim might be made known by the church to the principalities and powers in the heavenly places, according to the age-abiding purpose which he accomplished in Messiah Yehoshua our Master. Now, how on earth does a literal eternal here, according to the eternal purpose, have to literally do with something that we constantly read, ages, from the beginning of the ages, time, ages, the Father is the Elohim of the ages. Nevertheless, which he accomplished in Messiah, in whom we have boldness and access with confidence through faith in him. Is that wicked to have confidence? Does it sound prideful? Sounds prideful? Doesn't matter what it sounds like and looks like. Is it pride for real in the heart? Because someone that has zero boldness, zero confidence in him, is doing wicked works day and night. That's the truth. If someone has zero confidence and zero faith and zero boldness in him, they don't know him. They're doing evil day and night and don't do any of the Father's works. So this is through a confidence the Father gives, a strength the Father gives, through the old man being denied and perishing, and not through pride. Who can see the difference? Because the difference isn't carnal. The difference isn't what something looks like on the outside. It has to be discerned, the heart, the spirit of man. Test the spirits, not the flesh. Messiah teaches not to do outward judgment, to judge by appearance. That's the wicked, hypocritical, condemning judgment. If it's judgment by appearance, it's condemnation. It's hypocrisy. It's already over. It's all one. If it's the evil thing, it's condemnation, judgment, and hypocrisy. The person's a hypocrite and does the exact same thing that they condemn every time. Or judge with righteous judgment. Everyone is doing one of the two things. That's it. One of those two things. Righteous judgment apart from condemnation, or judging by appearance, which is condemning judgment out of a wicked heart, condemning someone, which is a hypocrite. One of the two. Therefore I ask that you do not lose heart at my tribulations. I guess the apostle didn't pre-trib anywhere. How much do we read about the tribulation in Messiah? That's what the world has done spiritually. It has ran away, thinking it can run and hide. But instead it's death right now for running. And it's going to be exposed to come anyways. So it's utter vanity. They have spiritually pre-tribbed themselves by running away from the truth, like Jonah. Therefore I ask, and what is the sign of Jonah? That you have to die. That man has to be buried in that baptism and be fished out by the Creator, who's the true original fisherman, if you will. Not that the Creator is a carnal man or something, but he is the true, and he makes Messiah to be and his people to be fishers of men. Swallows up Jonah with a fish, a whale, a big fish. And Jonah has to, the sign of Jonah is connected to Messiah's death. But there was no reality with Jonah at the time. It's a teaching that man cannot see unless it's given. Otherwise, it's just some carnal story to someone's mind. That's all it can be, just foolishness and stupidity to someone. Have to be buried in that baptism. When running from the Creator, there's always storms within. To make the storm go away, you have to die. But if someone doesn't die in Messiah through belief, the only way for it to go away is to literally die and kill themselves or die. That's it. There was no way before Messiah to die without dying. To die without dying literally and ending someone's literal life. That's what calms the storms. That's what stops it. But to die in Messiah is to live. It's not to just be dead now. He gives life to those that deny themselves. Puts their life to the death on the stake to die daily. And pick up that stake, that upright pole that Messiah died on, and not some cross. But the word cross is just a translated word. What does it mean? It's just an upright pole and stake. It doesn't mean cross like they have said. It's not even in the word's definition in Strong's either. First thing it says is upright pole, stake. Like the rod of Moses, which is a type of Messiah dying on the pole, stake, rod. It was an upright pole with Moses. Strengthened with might through his Spirit in the inner man, that Messiah may dwell in your hearts through faith, that you may, being rooted and grounded in love, may be able to comprehend with all the saints what is the width and length and depth and height, to know the love of Messiah which passes knowledge, that you may be filled with all the fullness of Elohim. Now to him who is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we ask or think, according to the power that works in us, to him be glory in the assemblies by Messiah Yehoshua to all generations, to the age of ages. Amen, we read. To all the generations of the age of ages, of the age of ages. Yes, that is accurate and true. And since I'm on this verse, I might as well pull up the blue letter and show a little bit about Ephesians 3:20 on the stupidity of something that's not true. It's okay to do like a literal translation and sound a little broken. That's normal. That's okay, because that's just how it has to be so often, because English is backwards pretty much compared to Hebrew and Greek, and translating like literally, trying to maintain the word order more often will make it sound a little broken if you do that and don't try to get the order right in English so that it's not robotic, like broken sounding. It's partial. It's going to say it sounds a little bit off. To not say everlasting and eternal sounds a little bit off. It picks and chooses when it's okay to sound a little off or when it's not. The very same teaching and understanding it accepts somewhere else. It's okay for that to be so with other words and other things through translations. But with this word for their doctrine that they have to uphold, eternal, punishment, now it's going to be partial and say that it must not be right because it sounds a little bit blocky, a little wooden. Incredible. How could someone expect trying to follow the literal word and word order when a language is completely backwards from Hebrew and Greek? How could you expect it to sound something other than a little bit wooden unless you make it a proper word order in the language, like in English, for example, without changing the meaning? Then that can be done to make it sound right in English. But if you try to follow the word order and transfer it to English, it's not going to sound like smooth and proper much of the time. But it picks and chooses when this applies and doesn't apply according to their heart that already believes something with bias and partiality according to its doctrines in its heart. It will conform to. Let's see, Ephesians 3:21. Unto, I'm reading in the word order of the Greek with the interline or whatever, the basic words for every word. Unto him, glory in the church by Messiah, Yehoshua, throughout all ages. World, it put world for aeon. Ages, then again age without end, it puts for aeon, age again. Amen. So that's not right. The interliner is not right here, but the Young's literal. To him is the glory in the assembly, in Messiah Yehoshua, to all the generations of the age of the ages. Or you could say it, to all the generations of the age of ages, but or of the ages, it doesn't matter, but that is proper. And then the last word, amen. Now the first word is how is that pronounced? Guinea?
Strong's G 1074. Genea.
So this means, this word is translated as generation. So that's the Greek word there. And then throughout all generation. Then the first time it's used aeon is age. That's what this word aeon means. And the masculine noun, this is the root. Of course, it puts the contradicting thing, forever, unbroken age, perpetuity, eternity, which is no beginning and end, so they done corruption with this word. But if you look at the word that's actually in the text, the first aeon here is, the inflected in the actual text is aeonios, or however it's pronounced. It's based off the root word aeon, but it's not exactly aeon, so it's the noun, and it's a singular. Now the next time it's the next one, it without end is the same root word again, slightly different word in the text, slightly different because there's something a little different about it. This one says genitive plural masculine. It's plural. And then amen we have at the end. The Old King James actually has throughout all ages, but then it puts world without end. Nonsense. To all the generations of the age of the ages. And then there's other examples where it says forever and ever in the translation, and it's the word aeon or aeonios 2 times, but one is singular and one is plural. And it puts forever and ever, but it should be forever and forevers. Multiple forevers times forever. See how stupid that is? But when you put age, one is singular, and then the Greek word, the other one's plural. So how come it doesn't put forever and forevers? Forever and forevers. But you read forever and forever when one of those words, same root word, but one is plural. It doesn't put forever and forevers. It's forever and forever. What on earth is that? It's age and ages, to the age of ages, or to the age of the ages. Everything is through ages, and there's ages within ages. And there's ages to come, not forevers to come, multiple forevers. In the forever to come. Is that who the Creator is through His Word? That's the literal understanding of the literal word. In the forevers to come. In the forever, no, in the ages to come. Time, ages have beginning and end. And it has nothing to do with death swallowing up, or life swallowing up death and victory, putting on immortality and life. That's a separate thing in understanding and belief and hope that believers have. That's separate from the word that means age and ages. It doesn't mean, like they say, what do you mean? Does that mean people will die? Because the Greek or the Hebrew word doesn't mean forever literally, and therefore the Greek that comes from the Hebrew doesn't mean forever literally, a literal forever. Then they imply and add to His word. They do exactly what we read not to do, because that's sin, that's evil, to add to His word. They do this often by asking a question. Are you saying? No, nowhere is it saying. No one that believes truly is saying that. No, His word's not saying that. No, we're not saying that. That's not why we're reading age of ages or speaking about that word that means age. That's not the intention. I'm not speaking for the reason of using that so as to teach and believe that there is no hope in the future. It's going to run out and people will die. No intention at all, zero, for why I'm saying age and using the word age and ages. Zero. But then they just add. They add to your word. They add to His word. They add to your words by saying, are you saying? It means we're not. Where do they read that? Where do they read that there? They don't. They just add to it. They imply, which is adding to His word. What's not there? That is the true adding and taking away. That is the true wickedness. Of course, adding literal letters, that would be corrupt too. That would be adding literal words. But that's not the heavenly meaning. Adding and taking away from His word is happening in the heart all the time in religion, constantly. And they do it to others all the time. They don't like when others add to their words, but they like to add words to others all day long. They don't like their work being done back to them by someone else. Are you saying, and then imply and inject something real quick. How does Christianity, being immortal, the immortal souls, then lives they are, and the immortality they already have? Yes, they do teach that. Most of it proclaims that openly, with words, with a mouth. Then how do they look forward to putting on immortality? How do you look forward to putting on what you already have? It's utter foolishness. What do those scriptures mean to them, putting on immortality? Nothing in their heart. It's a delusion. Someone that believes in their heart that they're immortal and cannot die, as their father, the devil, said, you shall surely not die. Therefore, the understanding of this is that when you do sin in the heart, it doesn't cause death. That's the important understanding. That's the heavenly. Spiritual wickedness in high places in the heart doesn't cause death, is what man believes outside of the Creator and unbelief. Because if someone doesn't believe the Father, doesn't have His Spirit, has no power, no understanding given, they're already overtaken of the devil and the enemy, who has way more power given to the enemy than any puny little man. No one's going to say, I'm not going to be deceived, that doesn't believe. They're already deceived and lost if they don't believe in the Creator. They're already of the devil. It's already over. Already completely deceived and taken, just like everyone is first, including every believer was also deceived and taken, and did the works of their father, the devil, whom the devil rages for turning away from evil and to the true Creator through the Messiah, and the true Messiah instead of the wicked anti-Messiah God-man, false spirit, the spirit of error. It rages. It hates when someone leaves them. You could see the devil's works through humanity. It hates when someone leaves prison spiritually and is being set free. It hates when someone leaves their job and institution and just walks. It rages. It wants to keep you in slavery, even literally, just like Egypt of old. And everyone will condemn you in their heart. And if they don't do it openly, they are doing it secretly to a believer for leaving some job like they've done to me, and condemning you as wicked and taking it more than personal and saying, how dare you leave God, man? You're leaving me. And it's got envy and pride because it can't leave its job unless the Creator allows them to. It's stuck there and can do nothing about it. That's why someone rages when someone just leaves, because they can't do it. And if they do literally do that, it was given and allowed them from above to do it, because if it's not given, they have to remain there the rest of their life and have no power and are way too afraid and cannot see anything else otherwise. Nobody believes in the power of the Creator that's of this world. That is wicked to them, because the rebellion is pride. It has nothing to do with someone being over them with power and them having nothing unless it's given. The rebellion is a delusion because there's no reality to it. The Creator is above all, and He has power over all, and He owns all souls, all people. And it doesn't matter what the delusion says and thinks. That's true anyways, and the works even prove it. It can do nothing. When someone gets better with something carnally, it takes credit for itself or in some product or pill. And the Father deceives the deceiver that deceives people for a judgment, so that they believe the strong delusion and lie that some piece of garbage pill did something for them, and it's actually the Father doing something that they don't give credit to. And then they see enough proof in their mind that this worked and did something, and then they will say that's what did it, as if some stupid pill is what does it. That's what they'll do. The whole entire industry is fraudulent with its heart. It wants to play Elohim Almighty, and it wants to take away something it made up to threaten someone with, to threaten, I won't give you the pill. And it plays this sick, evil, wicked, control, prideful, God-man, anti-Messiah spirit over another person, playing with them like as if they are the Creator and actually have this power, and they're literally in a delusion and filled up with wrath, foaming out of their mouth. That's the reality for someone that does those works continually. They have zero power, they're in slavery to their own sin, and they're in a literal delusion while they believe they're God Almighty. Pretty frightening. And they absolutely do not believe in the Creator or anything to come. They hope that death is the end because they're cowards and don't want to be exposed. It's what the beast hates most, is to be exposed that it's a beast. Nobody hates anything more than that, is to be exposed for real sin in the heart, to be exposed as wicked, as a sinner that's masquerading and a stage actor all its life. Nobody hates anything more than that, than when light shines in the darkness to show that its deeds were always evil, like we read, that it doesn't believe at all. Father created all things through Messiah, meaning what the Father created is not apart from the plan, from the understanding, from the knowledge, from the truth, from the working. It's all with Messiah in mind. The new creation is through Messiah. He creates all things through Nothing to do with a man creating the creation. Man created the heavens and earth. Wow, that's some serious pride. Must be a powerful man. God-man created the heavens and earth, they say. The Creator, the Father, Jehovah, created all things through. That's an understanding that needs to be given. Meaning through. Very simple. Nothing was created apart from having Messiah in mind. Everything goes through Messiah to have the Father. All creation must go through Messiah. It's all created to go through Messiah, for him, for the Father. The mystery which has been hidden from ages and from generations, but now has been revealed to his saints. So someone says that this is not so right now, the things that no one has ever heard with their ear or seen with their eyes is to come someday or something. Well, it is to come, but if they're saying that it's not true now, they're liars. The mystery which has been hidden, but now has been revealed to his saints. To them Elohim willed to make known what are the riches of the glory of the mystery among the Gentiles, which is Messiah in you, the hope of glory. Him we preach, warning every man and teaching every man in all wisdom, that we may present every man perfect in Messiah, Yehoshua. To this end, or to this I also labor, striving according to his working, which works in me mightily. How often are we taught of the Father's power? Someone denies the Father's power, turn away from them. He does a miracle, power to change the heart. It requires power. Father could split the Red Sea if he wanted to, literally. He doesn't want to be doing that left and right. That doesn't change the heart to only see that. The Father's working is a power that the world cannot see. But I've seen some carnal, literal signs, some literal miracles with no natural explanation. He could do that still. Literally seen it. But we're not supposed to be seeking what the carnal man would want in his heart, is crazy, giant miracles, outwardly massive miracles left and right, because that's a corrupt heart. A perverted and evil generation seeks that kind of sign. That's why Messiah says that. He's speaking of the carnal thing. Father will give signs to believers, prophecy, for edifying. He will do that for those that have their heart right, to want to do his will. Then those things will come, but not to seek them carnally and then say, I'll believe, or I'll do something after I see some massive miracle with my literal eyes. That's corruption. That's evil. That's a teaching. Messiah says, evil generation seeks that kind of sign. There's no teaching that the Father won't give signs. It just has to be done right. In whom are hidden all the treasures of wisdom and knowledge. For you died, and your life is hidden with Messiah in Elohim. That is applying to those that do believe. Set your mind on things above, not on things on the earth. For you died, and your life is hidden with Messiah in Elohim, who, when Messiah, who is our life, appears, then you also will appear with him in glory. Therefore put to death your members which are on the earth: fornication, uncleanness, passion. Passion. Yes, carnal, feel-good passion that the false prophet is only working to move and tickle someone's ears and flesh. Evil desire, covetousness, which is idolatry. Covetousness is also idolatry. Because of these things, the wrath of Elohim is coming upon the sons of disobedience, in which you yourself once walked, when you lived in them. Yes, no believer was better. There's nothing of self that's inherently better than someone. But now you yourselves are to put off all these anger, wrath, malice. Now what's someone going to do? Because with the letter we have a problem, right? A contradiction, because we read to put off anger. Be angry and sin not. The same apostle says elsewhere. Put off anger and be angry and sin not. Which one is it? Because he's speaking of anger that comes out of sin and evil. He's not speaking of any kind of righteous anger that is supposed to be without sin, if it does happen to be without sin. But when he speaks of anger, wrath here, this is all man's anger and wrath, which is wicked. It's self's works. It's not from above. It's the natural, rightly dividing what it is, natural or spiritual. You yourselves are to put off all these anger, wrath, malice, blasphemy, filthy language out of your mouth. Do not lie to one another, since you have put off the old man with his deeds, and have put on the new man, who is renewed in knowledge according to the image of him who created him. Created him? Oh, abomination, they say. Isn't Messiah in Christianity, the anti-Messiah, uncreated? Some will say created, but he's equally God and has been with the Creator, literally eternal, and yet still created somehow at the same time. It's incredible. You have put on the new man, or the new, who is renewed in knowledge according to the image of him who created him. The Father didn't just, it's not speaking for the understanding of the Father creating himself, him who created him. This is the Father creating Messiah. Yes, creating all, as everyone has been created, including Messiah. Him who created him. The Father creating Messiah, where there is neither Greek nor Jew, circumcised nor uncircumcised, barbarian, Scythian, slave nor free, but Messiah is all and in all. Therefore, as the elect of Elohim, holy and beloved, put on tender mercies, kindness, humility, meekness, long-suffering, bearing with one another and forgiving one another. If anyone has a complaint against another, even as Messiah forgave you, so you also must do. But above all these things put on love, which is the bond of perfection, and let the peace of Elohim rule in your hearts, to which you were called in one body, and be thankful. Let the word of Messiah dwell in you richly in all wisdom, teaching and admonishing one another in psalms and hymns, spiritual songs, singing with grace in your hearts to the Master. And whatever you do in word or deed, do all in the name of Messiah Yehoshua, giving thanks to Elohim the Father through him. Now what else do we have for the word hidden? Hebrews 4. Interesting, because 4 is light. Day 4 is all about the lights, and Messiah being a light in the world on day 4 of creation, 4,000 years, 31 AD, equaling up and adding up to 4, but Hebrews 4 now. No creature is hidden, chapter 4. There's no creature hidden from his sight, but all things are naked and open to the eyes of him whom we must give account. Seeing then that we have a great high priest who has passed through the heavens, Yehoshua the son of Elohim, let us hold fast our confession. We do not have a high priest who cannot sympathize with our weaknesses, unlike the anti-Messiah God-man of Christianity. Unlike that false spirit and false Messiah, we do not have a high priest who cannot sympathize with our weaknesses, but was in all points tempted as we are, yet without sin. Let us therefore come boldly to the throne of grace, that we may obtain mercy and find grace to help in a time of need. Yes, Moses was also hidden. Interesting. By faith, Moses, when he was born, was hidden 3 months by his parents because they saw he was a beautiful child and they were not afraid of the king's command. His life was hidden, shown in the natural. Those that believe in Messiah, their life is hidden to preserve their life so that the enemy doesn't come and want to, as it wants to so badly, slaughter and kill you. Kill believers, kill them all. They make music about killing them all. Wicked snakes and hypocrites. Do not let your adornment be outward, arranging the hair, wearing gold, putting on apparel, fine apparel. Rather, let it be the hidden person of the heart, with the incorruptible beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit, which is very precious in the sight of Elohim. And Revelation 2. He who has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the assemblies or churches. To him who overcomes, I will give some of the hidden manna to eat, and I will give him a white stone, and on the stone a new name written, which no one knows except him who receives it. Hidden manna to eat. So the scripture of manna coming from Messiah is the bread from heaven. Those are true words. All his word is truth. Being hidden in the ark, being put in the ark to preserve the life now. In Noah's day as an understanding. Everywhere outside the ark, it's a judgment, a flood. It's death outside of the ark, outside of his salvation. Someone reminded me in Luke, we do read 2 by 2. That's a connection in Luke in with Noah's, the animals 2 by 2. It's a connection. And the animals are beasts, and people are beasts. It's teaching constantly that man's a beast, that he needs saved and destroyed. That old man, that beast has to die. The beasts are the people in the ark. 2 by 2. I think that might be it for now. Veil remains unlifted in the reading of the Old Testament, ministry of death and condemnation. There's a blinding, and it's very real. For those that don't believe in Messiah, that's the only way for this veil to be to be lifted away. And he's given to see how the Old Covenant and what it means and represents is applying to all people that don't believe. It's applying to all. It's man trying to be righteous, whether he uses the Father's law through his word or not, doesn't matter. The work of man trying to be righteous of self is identical. It's no different with Israelites of old, carnal Jerusalem, than any other nation. The same work in the heart is no different. It's just that they're the Creator's laws. And if you mix the laws or create your own things, it doesn't matter. That's just the outward. It's the same work. That's why we read in Revelation where the Master was killed. Jerusalem is spiritually Sodom and Egypt. It's no different spiritually, in spirit, in the heart, the works of the heart, no different. So then that's not the way. The new covenant is a better covenant. Oh, that's what I wanted to... I think I might be able to find that now. Without fault. Let's see if that finds what I want to look for. No, that's not it. Better covenant, maybe. We do read. It's a better covenant. More excellent ministry. Inasmuch he is also mediator of a better covenant, which was established on better promises. There it is. For if that first covenant had been faultless, then no place would have been sought for a second. Because finding fault with them, now what's the understanding? For if that first had been faultless, then no place would have been sought for a second. So is it the Creator that's at fault? Is it something he did, sinned, didn't understand, did wrong? No. We just read exactly in verse 8 now. Hebrews 8:8. Because finding fault with them, he says, finding fault with what? Them, the people. That's the fault of the old covenant, is man trying to be righteous of himself. That's it. Because finding fault with them, he says, behold, the days are coming, says Jehovah, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day I took them by the hand to lead them out of the land of Egypt, because they did not continue in my covenant. They couldn't keep it. They couldn't do it. No one can. And I disregarded them, says Jehovah. For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, says Jehovah. Now, Jeremiah 31:31 is being quoted in Hebrews 8. New creation, new covenant, new for number 8. I will put my laws in their mind and write them on their hearts, and I will be their Elohim, and they will be my people. And that's, I believe that's in Jeremiah 31. But we have the phrase new covenant in Jeremiah. He writes the laws in the mind and in the heart. That is the new covenant. None of them shall teach his neighbor and none of his brothers, saying, Know Jehovah, for all shall know me, from the least to the greatest of them, for I will be merciful to their unrighteousness and their sins and their lawless deeds. Of course the critical text omits and their lawless deeds. Get lost. Hypocritical text. And their sins and their lawless deeds I will remember no more. Actual forgiveness of sin. Jeremiah 31:31 through 34. In that he says a new covenant he has made the first. In that he says a new covenant he has made the first obsolete. Now what is becoming obsolete and growing old is ready to vanish away. These words are always true. True right now. The old is vanishing away. Meaning to be perishing. And those that don't believe are perishing with the old. That is the wide gateway, is self-righteousness. all of mankind, apart from the narrow way, is self-righteousness. It's the very work of the heart. It's self-righteous. That's what it is. It's all that work is the same for all man. It's just a different cover, different religion, different gurus, different this, different that, for an image. That's it. Image doesn't do anything, doesn't prove anything. Changing the outside only can't touch the heart and change the inside because of it at any time. But if the inside is clean and being made clean as Messiah taught, the outside will be in order. It'll be clean because the inside going outside it does work like that, but the outside in, it cannot work like that. Making the outside clean doesn't make the inside clean. It can never touch the inside. Putting on self-righteousness and self-covering can't change the heart. You can't touch it. But if someone is changing within, then whatever the outside looks like, it looks like that because it's not trying to masquerade or stage act. That's just what it ends up looking. That's it. It looks like that because of what it's doing within. No one will believe it in this world of the enemy, but that's the truth. It will look like whatever it needs to look like. It will look like something, and it will be proper for whatever it looks like because there's no intention to try to look like something. It just has to be that it looks like something. And what it looks like doesn't matter for a believer. But the world will hate it. The world doesn't see him or know him. It's in condemnation and condemns others. Those in prison are going to prison and in prison. Those leading to captivity are in captivity themselves. Messiah taught it. It's the judgment now. Those that fight by the sword, fight with the sword, which is doing wickedness, doing evil works, killing by your own hand, your own works, fighting with the sword, murdering in the heart, they themselves will be killed with the sword. Those in captivity must want others to be in captivity. They must want others to be going there. Can have no other heart. Those in prison are working to put others in prison and keep them in prison. Can have no other heart. That is the judgment. Those are Messiah's words. That's a teaching. That's an understanding. Can't be anything else. Or through belief. Those outside of prison want others to be outside of prison. One of the two. There's no middle. One of the two is being done every day by people right now. One of the two. And those that don't fight with the sword, they themselves are not killed and destroyed by the sword. Those that have mercy on others receive mercy. Those that forgive receive forgiveness. Those that do not lead into captivity, lead out of captivity, want others to be outside of captivity. Or the opposite thing, one of the two. There's no mix. No one's doing both, one of the two. Every heart is doing one of the two. For believers, though, we can't be doing the evil. Can't be wanting others to be in prison, in captivity, to sin. Nevertheless, we fight with his sword, the Father's word, the Father's power and sword, his protection, his judgment, his sword, his word. There's a right way and a good, and then there's the wicked way to fight with the sword, which is murder. Looks the same for an image to the blind. Which one is it? One is good, one is evil. Fight with the sword or fight with the sword. Doesn't the apostle say, put on your armor and helmet and get a sword? Didn't Messiah say, grab a sword to his disciples, and they literally went and grabbed a sword? And Messiah said, it's enough. That's enough. 2 swords, yeah, that should be enough to destroy all the Romans. Because that's what they were thinking, the disciples. Pretty delusional. But they didn't understand what it means to fight with his word, the Father's sword. It's him fighting in us. It's his word, his sword, his protection. Or killing by the sword apart from him and then dying by the sword, because this is a heart that goes and fights and sheds blood with its heart by committing murder, by committing hatred, and evil hatred towards people is murder. Anyone who, might as well read it now. We read it directly and plainly. Let's see. First John 3:15. 1 John 3. Do not marvel, my brethren, if the world hates you. We know that we have passed from death to life because we love the brethren. He who does not love his brother abides in death. Whoever hates his brother is a murderer, and you know that no murderer has age abiding life in him. Now, what is the literal word there? Looking up murderer. Greek, G443. Anthropokatonos, however that's pronounced. Manslayer, murderer. Simple definition. To kill. Manslayer, murderer. Yes, that's what the Father sees for those that hate. From the heart. He sees murder. He sees manslayer, bloodshedder. I think that's going to be it now. Peace, take care, seek truth from above.